Minister expects minus 0.6% up to minus 0.9% economic growth in the first quarter of 2021. Bukit Asam's net profit fell by 44.6% year-on-year. Good afternoon, viewers. Market Headlines is ready to provide you a number of informations from business, economic, and capital market sector. With me, Claranta Wijaya, and this is Market Headlines. Ahead of the announcement of economic growth figures for the first quarter of 2021, the government still estimates that the national economy will be in the negative zone. During the first quarter of 2021, the government estimates that the economic growth will still be in the negative zone. The Minister of National Development Planning and Head of National Development Planning Agency, Suharso Monoarfa, said that the first quarter of this year, the economy will only grow in the range of minus 0.6 to minus 0.9%. However, in the second quarter, it is estimated that the economy will begin to improve and will be in the positive zone. Suharso believes that the economic improvement, whereas manufacturing sector is improving and lead to better people's purchasing power.
Pada triwulan pertama tahun 2021, ekonomi Indonesia kami perkirakan masih akan sedikit kontraksi pada kisaran minus 0,6 hingga minus 0,9, di mana peningkatan belanja pemerintah dan ekspor akan menjadi bantalan yang dapat menahan ekonomi Indonesia tidak terkontraksi lebih dalam.
Previously, the Ministry of Finance predicted that the economic growth in the first quarter would be in the range of minus 1% to minus 0.1%. This projection is better than the growth of positions in 2020, which was minus 2.07%. Jakarta, Rajo Patmo for IDX Channel. The Financial System Stability Committee, or KSSK, ensures that the economic recovery process continues to improve amid the increasing cases of COVID-19 in various countries. Head of KSSK, Sri Mulyani, said that the domestic economy is getting better as reflected in the increase of PMI.
In the midst of global economic challenges, the Financial System Stability Committee, or KSSK, ensures that the national financial system in the first 3 months of 2021 is in normal condition. The head of KSSK, who is also Minister of Finance, Sri Mulyani, explained that the government, together with Bank Indonesia, the Financial Services Authority, and the Deposit Insurance Corporations, will continue to maintain financial system stability with various policy collaborations. Sri Mulyani said that currently the economy recovery is getting better, as seen from the control of the COVID-19 cases. This has an impact on a number of indicators that shows the directions of improvement, one of which is the Purchasing Manager Index, or PMI, in the expansion zone. The KSSK even recorded the latest data in April to be 54.6, or an increase from the positions of 53.2 in March 2021.
Hingga Maret 2021, sejumlah indikator dini dari ekonomi menunjukkan arah perbaikan. Data PMI telah berada pada zona ekspansi. Bahkan ini barusan keluar juga, PMI kita meningkat lagi ke 54,6 dari 53,2. Angka Maret 53,2. dan sekarang baru keluar 54,6.
The expense PMI data shows a continuing upward trend. Meanwhile, export also continued to improve and inflation was controlled at a relatively low level. Meanwhile, foreign exchange reserves were recorded at 137.1 billion US dollar, or the equivalent of 10.1 months of imports. From Jakarta, Rajo Patmo for IDX Channel.
President Joko Widodo instructs regional government to spend its budget. The step aims to ensure that the regional budget and state budget can be maximized to recover the economy. President Joko Widodo ensures that the government will improve economic recovery with better spending realization. In the opening of 2021 National Development Planning deliberation at the State Palace, President Joko Widodo demanded all Indonesians to encourage economic recovery and control the COVID-19 pandemic. President instructed regional government to spend its budget better so that it can contribute to national economic recovery. In banking sector, the regional saving reached 182.33 trillion rupiah in the end of March 2021. Regional government budget expenditures are expected to eventually help people in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic.
Demand side harus diperbesar, sisi permintaan harus diperbesar. Kemarin saya sudah mengingatkan di akhir Maret 2021 di perbankan masih ada uang APBD provinsi, kabupaten dan kota 182 triliun yang seharusnya itu segera dibelanjakan untuk memperbesar sisi permintaan, sisi konsumsi.
Up to March end, Ministry of Finance recorded regional saving was 182.33 trillion rupiah. It went up 11.2% month on month. From Jakarta, Rajo Patmo, IDX Channel. Ministry of Trade keeps pushing two on-demand industry, which are halal food and Muslim fashion industry. One of the way is by maintaining the good quality. As a Muslim majority country, Indonesia is the world's biggest market for halal products. Minister of Trade Muhammad Lutfi said that apparently there are two industries that can step up Indonesia's halal market. It is halal food and Muslim fashion industry. Ministers say that these industries run mostly by small businesses, but the quality is very good and can compete with imported quality. Therefore, the role of ministry is arranging the supply and demand.
Kita kan tidak bisa paksa orang untuk berbelanja barang buatan Indonesia. Yang kita bisa kerjakan adalah memastikan bahwa satu, barang-barang yang dijual itu memang kompetitif, harganya menarik, dan yang paling penting juga dari semuanya itu terlihat baik gitu kan ya, dipakainya, enak dipakainya, nyaman dipakainya, dan kemudian harganya juga terjangkau. Nah,
even though people cannot be forced to buy local products, but business actors can make good quality products so that more people buy local products. So that the halal food and Muslim fashion industry is expected to conquer a domestic market and can compete well in the global market. From Jakarta, Adi Firmansyah, IDX Channel. Stay tuned to market headlines because we will be right back after this quick break.
Tentunya banyak sekali kegagalan dan banyak sekali inefficiencies yang akhirnya berada di dalam usaha itu.
Sempat kayak, aduh kayak saya nggak cocok nih di sini. Sempat gitu Kak?
Enggak. Saya selalu merasa terus harus merintis, terus harus berjuang, dan harus persevere. Karena nggak tahu kenapa sampai sekarang pun saya masih punya keteguhan kalau this is where I'm supposed to be. Inilah yang sebenarnya saya harus lakukan dan ini pasti nantinya bisa sukses.
Benarkah tren transisi ke energi baru dan terbarukan tidak membuat industri energi fosil lantas surut? Seperti apa dampaknya terhadap sektor migas?
Turunnya atau rendahnya harga minyak dan gas yang sangat drastis turunnya, adanya pandemi yang membuat terbatasnya pergerakan.
Langkah yang dilakukan apa nih Pak?
Hingga hari ini saya kira Brent hari ini sekitar 55. Ini sesuatu yang positif untuk industri yang itu kira.
Berdasarkan hasil referendum per 7 Maret 2021, mayoritas masyarakat Swiss menyetujui perjanjian dagang Indonesia.
BNI dengan dukungan Kementerian Pertanian meluncurkan program Millennial Smart Farming.
Warga Amerika yang sudah mendapatkan vaksinasi penuh dapat kembali beraktivitas seperti keadaan normal.
Terlihat ini yang menurut saya menjadi sentimen negatif buat di pasar komoditas karena penguatan untuk menekan harga komoditas.
Welcome back to Market Headline. The Central Bureau of Statistics, or BPS, recorded that the number of foreign tourist visits to Indonesia in March 2021 reached 132.6 thousand visitors. And this figure is up by 14.45% over the previous month.
The Central Statistics Agency, or BPS, noted that the number of foreign tourists who came to Indonesia in March 2021 reached 132.6 thousand. On a monthly basis, this figure is up to 14.54% compared to the February 2021. Deputy for Statistics, Distributions and Services of BPS, Sutianto, explained that the cumulative number of foreign tourist visits reached 385.59 thousand visits. This figure decreased by 85.45% compared to the number of foreign tourist visits in the same period in 2020, which amounted to 2.65 million visits.
Sebesar 132,6 ribu kunjungan di bulan Maret ini. Dibandingkan dengan bulan Februari yang lalu, besar 115,8 ribu kunjungan. Kemudian memang ini masih jauh dibandingkan dengan tahun 2020 maupun 2019. Namun di bulan Januari sampai Maret 2021 sudah mengalami peningkatan.
Currently, the majority of foreign tourist arrivals enter via land entrance, amounting to 59%, sea entrance 40.9%, and air entrance about 10%. The most foreign tourists visiting were from Timor-Leste, amounting to 49.2%. From Jakarta, Raharjo Patmo for IDX Channel.
The tourism industry is the most affected sector by the COVID-19 pandemic. In fact, the recovery of tourism sector will take a long time. However, indications of recovery can be monitored through the level of foreign tourist visits and the occupancy rate of hotel rooms. So, along with the recovery efforts, how are the developments so far? Let's review it in the following infographics. Here it is, the first infographics about the number of foreign tourist visits in Indonesia. We can see that the number is quite fluctuative, but the latest data in March 2021 shows that we have 123,000 visits.
And then, referring to the data from Statistik Indonesia, the number of foreign tourist visits in March 2021 was recorded to have decreased by 72.73% year-on-year when compared to the March 2020, which amounted to 486,200 visits. Even when compared to the pre-COVID positions in March 2019, which amounted to 1.31 billion visits, foreign tourist visits in March 2021 were still lower. And talking about foreign tourist visits, one of the main tourist destinations, Bali, even recorded the number of foreign tourists only 3 people in March 2021. And based on the BPS Bali data, the number fell around 99.99% compared to March in the previous year, which reached around 167,000 visits. And even though it has increased monthly, it turns out that the foreign tourist visits are still contracting, and even when calculated on the annual basis. So let's directly check the data in the next graphic. In the next graphic, we can see the development of foreign tourist visits. First of all, we can see the period of January to March 2020 in compared to January to March 2021. The number dropped around 85.45%. And based on the entrance, 59% of tourists come from the land road, and foreign tourists who came from the road via Antikong and also Aruk. And then followed by sea and air roads, where the foreign tourists who come by air via Soekarno-Hatta and some Ratulangi Airport. And both experienced an increase of 71% at 144.69% month-on-month respectively. And then, which countries did foreign tourists come to Indonesia during March 2021? So let's take the data in the next graphic. We can see the origin of the country of foreign tourists in March 2021. So we can conclude that the most foreign tourists to Indonesia comes from Timor-Leste by 49.17%, then following by Malaysia, China, Singapore, and Papua New Guinea. And talking about recovery, in March, tourist visits from China reached around 8,500, an increase of 191.73% month-on-month and 70.59% year-on-year. But however, at the same time, foreign tourist arrivals from several countries such as Kuwait, New Zealand, and Australia have not seen any improvement. Meanwhile, foreign tourist visits are expected to affect the occupancy rate of star-classified hotel rooms in a number of regions in Indonesia. How is the data? So let's see. Let's check it in the next graphic about the improvement and so on. Here it is. For the next graphic, we can see the domestic hotel occupancy rate, which we can say that the room occupancy rate for star-classified hotel reached around 36.07%. And then the room occupancy rates in star-classified hotel in Indonesia increased by 8.35% year-on-year. So it is better in February 2021, or an increase of 3.83% compared to the room occupancy rate in March 2020, which was recorded at 32.24%. And then, what about room occupancy rates in number of provinces? Let's take a look. One of them from the data on the room occupancy rate in Bali. In March 2021, the occupancy was recorded at 10.24%, increase from the occupancy rate in February 2021, which recorded at 8.99%. Meantime, when compared to March 2022, which reached around 25.41%, the occupancy rate in March 2021 was recorded to have dropped by 15.17 points. And yes, viewers, hopefully the efforts to restore the tourism sector will continue while the government remains vigilant and careful in handling the COVID-19 pandemic, which is still not over until now. So yes, viewers, stay tuned to Market Headlines because we will be right back after this quick break. Menteri Kelautan dan Perikanan Wahyu Sakti Tenggono secara tegas melarang aktivitas ekspor benih lobster.
Karena benur itu adalah kekayaan daripada bangsa ini, kekayaan dari alam ini. Dia hanya boleh dibudidaya.
Presiden Joko Widodo resmi mencabut aturan terkait investasi industri minuman keras.
Bahlil Lahadalia menyebutkan
adalah kita memberikan perizinan berusaha dan insentif bagi UMKM.
Assalamualaikum Sobat Milenial, berikut adalah tips untuk mengatur dana THR. Yang pertama adalah menabung sebagian dari dana THR yang diterima. Dengan Anda menyisihkan dana THR untuk ditabung, Anda dapat mencegah pengeluaran yang tidak terkontrol. Kedua, membatasi belanja online. Di tengah Ramadan dan Idul Fitri banyak sekali e-commerce yang menebar diskon di mana-mana. Nah, Sobat Milenial, jangan terjebak, prioritaskan dana THR untuk kebutuhan utama. Yang ketiga adalah zakat dan sedekah. Anda bisa mengalokasikan 2,5% dari THR untuk zakat fitrah dan sisanya bisa dialokasikan untuk berbagi kepada sesama. Keempat, dana darurat. Di tengah pandemi virus corona, dana darurat dapat menghindarkan kita dari kejadian yang tidak diinginkan. Ya Sobat Milenial, memang menerima THR ini merupakan momen yang ditunggu-tunggu pada saat Lebaran, tapi tetap harus bijaksana dalam penggunaan THR dan harus menggunakan dananya sewajar-wajarnya dan juga jangan boros.
Seluruh masyarakat warga Indonesia untuk dapat berinvestasi.
Yes, viewers, let's take a look at Jakarta Composite Index intraday movement. So earlier today, JCI was open at the level of 5,957.03, and then approaching the closing time in the first session, the index was on the level of 5,933.3, and then the index was showing strengthening trend by the second session closing time. The index was closed at the level of 5,963.82. In short, JCI went up 0.19%. Next, we're going to see the sectoral movement. Leading the dynamics of today's reading, we got basic industry as the leader of the strengthening trend that went up 0.79%. We got MISC industry that went up 0.77%. We got finance that went down 0.99%, and trade went down 0.63%. Moving on to the top gainers and the top losers, here are the key highlights from today's trading sessions. Start from the top gainers. We got Aneka Tambang that went up 3.97%. We got BBCA that went up 0.16%. We got PBRI that went up 1.25%. And TINS that went up 6.98%. Meantime, for the top losers for today's trading sessions, we got TBIG that went down 4.81%. We got Unilever that went down 2.54%. We got PJAS that went down 0.8%. And MPPA that went down 1.23%. Next, we're going to see the intraday movement of rupiah towards US dollar. So rupiah opened at the level of 14,418. Rupiah was also showing strengthening trend towards US dollar. I was closed at the level of 14,394. In summary, rupiah went up 0.17%. Bukit Asam reported a decrease in a net profit by 44.6% year-on-year to 500.51 billion rupiah in the first quarter of 2021.
Bukit Asam reported a decrease in the company's net profit by 44.6% to 500.51 billion rupiah in the first quarter of 2021, compared to the same period in the previous year of 903.24 billion rupiah. The decrease in company's net profit was also due to the company's revenue, which also decreased by around 22% to 3.99 trillion rupiah in the first quarter. The decrease in Bukit Asam's net profit and revenue was caused by the high rainfall in Tanjung Ening. The company's total coal production during the first quarter of 2021 reached 4.5 million tons with sales of 5.9 million tons. The company targets an increase in coal production volume to 29.5 million tons in 2021. The company also targets an increase in coal sales to 30.7 million tons in 2021. The company's total assets increased by 2% in just 3 months to 24.5 trillion at the end of the first quarter of 2021. Meanwhile, the total equity of Bukit Asam will continue to increase from 16.9 trillion in 2020 to 17.6 trillion rupiah in the first quarter of 2021. From Jakarta, IDX Channel team reported.
Panin Bank recorded 614 billion rupiah consolidated net profit in the first quarter of 2021. This went down 15.9% year-on-year.
The company with a stock code of PNBN has been through the tough first quarter of 2021, whereas the consolidated net profit fell by 15.9% year-on-year. In the first quarter of 2020, the net profit was 731 billion rupiah. However, in the first quarter of this year, it was recorded only 614 billion rupiah. Decrease in net profit was because net interest income that was decreasing as well. It went down from 2.4 trillion rupiah to be 2.34 trillion rupiah within a period of January to March 2021. Automatically, this caused Panin Bank net interest margin fell from 5.23% in the first quarter of 2020 to be 4.87% in the first 3 months of 2021. The good thing is, the President Director of Panin Bank, Herwi Dayatmo, stated that Panin Bank recorded good growth in the operating profit, which reached 1.7 trillion rupiah. This figure went up by 17.3% year-on-year. From all sources, IDX Channel. Step aside from market conditions as coronavirus pandemic takes a big role on current economic situations. Here it is an update data about coronavirus globally. And the news close on market headlines today. Please enjoy our next program on IDX Channel, your trustworthy economic business and capital market channel. Postponing your homecoming in this 8-hour video is not only important, but it is protecting your loved one as well. I'm Lantai. Have a nice evening and stay safe.